All right, we are back. What is up, ladies and gentlemen? Welcome to the Biblical Hitmen. My name is Steven, host of the show, and I'm excited for this one. Before I even plug any of my stuff, I've been gone, not gone. I've just been enjoying my house. I've been enjoying what has been coming to me for a long time, and it's been good. I've been spending time with family. Uh, you know, uh, Trying to be a better dad, right? I'm a young dad, so I got a lot to learn, but it's been a lot of fun. Spending more time with my kid and all this kind of stuff. Shout out to everyone in the chat. Shout out to the Patreon members. What's going on, Rebel? We got Chris. What's going on, Cake? Good to see everybody. Tim, what's up, man? Saw the thing on X that you sent me. Yeah, that interview's good. Didn't get through the whole thing yet, though. The William Ramsey episode, but it has intrigued me. If anyone wants to support me, support the show, wherever, people can make donations on PayPal. That stuff's in the description, in the links, yada yada yada. People can also support me over on Patreon, get ad-free stuff over there, community stuff as well, chats, all that kind of stuff. Also, YouTube. If you're here, you're not a subscriber, hit that subscribe button. Let's go. Come on now, support your boy. Thank you for being here. If you are a subscriber, thank you. Also, come check out the channel over on the audio platform, Spotify, Apple Podcast, things like that. And, I just hopefully can get a review and a follow over on those platforms as well. But what's going on, everybody? What's up, Jeep? What's going on? It's good to see everyone. When God said, "Let there be light," half the planet was left in darkness. What are we talking about in the chat? What is going on already? I love it. This episode, Hal Puthoff and the New Age connections that he's kind of got going on. As a Christian, living through the stuff that we're living through, it's all quite fascinating. I was watching NDS and the guys the other day. Or I saw it was a short clip, and Top said something, and it made a lot of sense to me. And it seems like we're at like this bottleneck position with UFO disclosure, New Age sciences that are starting to emerge, being pushed by. I see it on podcasts. That's really most of the content that we consume is podcasts, right? Or YouTube videos or this or that. But all I see is just New Age stuff. We're gonna get into some disclosure updates. I got some stuff I want to share that I saw on X. We'll get that up and rolling. And also, Scientology, like, how's that kind of have a connection with all the UFO narrative? And it does, Lou Elizondo has some connections with that, and also Hal Puthoff has connections with that. Hal Puthoff is stepping into the space, ladies and gentlemen. Like, he's I saw him talking with I believe his name's Eric Burleson. This is I think a senator. Could be wrong. I don't know. He's someone in Congress, right? So they were having this talk or whatever, and what I'm noticing is a pattern of stuff. I'm noticing a one big pattern, and it seems like what they're working on society, right? They're working on the cultures, and just people today don't really have a belief structure, right? Most people don't really have like a belief structure, until they fall into something or until they explore something, until someone invites them to something or whatever. But I think that they're building a belief system around all of this stuff, and one big esoteric belief system. And I think we just started publicly. Like, this has been kind of discussed on Christian podcasts where, fallen angels, Nephilim, all these kinds of things. But the UFO stuff, I think, took off around 2017. That this stuff started blowing up. Joe Rogan started having people on his show, and people started making podcasts because Joe Rogan had a podcast, and he was kind of like this, leader of the space to kind of show people the map of how to, not only be successful, but how to do this right with all these guests and all this kind of stuff. And that's all I'm seeing the narrative being pushed, that there's a belief system that's being constructed, and it's all over the place. It's mystery religion, right? So biblically that mystery Babylon, there is a religion, in the end times, there is a one world currency, a one world government, a space for humanity to dwell and be in harmony with the world, right? And that's the fascinating thing that I've read, or I've covered, or I've talked about, pertaining to people like Alice Bailey or Blavatsky, or these people that um, are really big candidates in the movement. They're dead, but their works have been taken and been passed on, and they've been written on top of, and all this kind of stuff, right? So that's what I see the UFO narrative as. I see it as like almost this. It's a neo New Age movement. Like and when you look at the Great Awakening map, you can see that all this disclosure stuff, secret space programs, MK Ultra, all this kind of stuff, right, is a part of that Great Awakening program. That map. It's so interesting. The map is very fascinating when you look at it. It could be a psyop to me. I don't know, right? Like at this point, I see things on here and kind of on this map, how they're situated. I think there's some sort of organization to it, and it's at the top of the map, which is, I'm assuming, when this thing is coming to an end, right? It's going to meet its goal. It has a religious system to it. So I think it's a part. Lucifer, Satan, is trying to get or at least manipulate humanity, to do this, to create this, right? It's prophecy. So it's all fascinating. Yeah. Rebel says the map is crazy. It is. And if you had a podcast and you were esoteric, right? Because of all these other podcasts that are kind of like esoteric, you would probably easily get like 600 episodes just from talking about the things on the map. Like you would easily get that much content out of this. So it's fascinating. I don't know. People may disagree with me, or they may think I'm a kook talking about the map, but it seems to be falling in line with all this kind of, Anna Paulina Luna is a part of, I think, this movement. I haven't made these connections yet, but my intuition tells me. And also, Gabbard, right? Like Tulsi Gabbard is also part of this movement, and what's going on with the MK Ultra files, I think we'll see develop to blossom into something interesting. But again, that's a part of Alice Bailey's work, and especially with the externalization of the hierarchy, one of the books that she wrote is that these societies, not only societies, but possibly like these programs as well, would start to be exposed. And that's one thing that has been huge in the podcast space, is exposing conspiracies. I'm not saying that conspiracies aren't real; they're not valid, this and that, but they've been set. And now this is the thing, Satan can manipulate things in our timeline, like out of balance, if that makes any sense. Like what I'm trying to say is, like, he could do something in the past so that it's to come in the future, but it has a late future to it, right? It's interesting. I don't know. I'm looking at this from like a metaphysical standpoint, where how do these spirits interact with us? What do these principalities, these powers, these demons, what do they know? Right? Are they all knowing? If that's the case, then they kind of don't know the future, but they see the past almost like it's a filing cabinet. They can go right to the source. I don't know, maybe, but what I'm saying is they're a different fabric of creation, and they're not restricted by the laws that I believe that humans are restricted to. I think we're a separate creation from that. So let's get into how Puthoff. This is a guy, and maybe I can show you a photo of him first. We'll bring that up. But actually, I'll just bring up the X. I'll bring up the X tweet. that I want to share with y'all. my kid, my kid is out there screaming. I love her to death, love her to death. Hope everyone had a good day. I hope the day's been well. Hopefully the week has been, good for everyone. Not so crazy. This is interesting, actually. Why is that not loading? Hmm. That's weird. That's weird. I'm way more up, like on my phone. I'm updated way more because I chat myself, right? I chat myself these things that I see on X. Okay, so let me work this here. Oh, that's wild. Why is this not? That's weird. X is being super weird. Anyways, let me get back to the chat here. Um, yeah. Hey, what's up, Don? Good to see you. And we got Oscar in the house. What's going on, partner? We had some family over, and we were getting together, kind of celebrating my daughter's birthday not too long ago. What's up, Neff Hunter? What's going on, everyone? Oh, did I didn't change the background for this stream. Let me work. Let me change this. Let me do this. So what do y'all think, real quick, before we get into the topic? Do you like the black background? You like the thumbnail backgrounds? Give me some feedback here. I need some feedback. So let me move this here. We'll move that over here. I love the Mac. The Mac is awesome. This is interesting. Why my X is not updated. I don't know if that's ever happened to anyone else. I mean, it says 1 minute ago on my notification. So, and I see Tim. I see your notification on there too. So I don't know. I'm working on doing an episode with Andrew. That's gonna be a fun one. It's always fun doing episodes with him. Where did I send this? Oh, okay. It's updated. Let's go. That kind of scared me a little bit. It's like, oh no, my content's gone. My content is gone. And there's a few other things, right? Like Avi Loeb, right? This supposed council he's building for the UFO narrative and the programs and all this kind of stuff, building a Avengers team of scientists, and they're going to try and work contact, right? They're going to try and make contact here, and that's what it's all about. It's all about this other intelligence making contact with mankind, right? And I think that that's the overall narrative of all of this, because I think it has a lot to do with the harlot. I think it has a lot to do with artificial intelligence, an explanation for, not only sentient life, but also, artificial super intelligence, right? Like if artificial intelligence can get to the point to where it's able to have some sort of consciousness, it's really really scary. Now, what I uh, what I think biblically can contribute to that idea, because some people are like, AI can never reach consciousness. Like it don't matter what you say about it, right? It can't happen. But the false prophet gives life unto the image of the beast, right? The false prophet breathes life, and this image of the beast is able to cause, everyone to receive the mark. And that makes me think of not only Marvin Minsky and his connections to um, Rabbi Judah Lowe and the Golem and artificial intelligence being created, or maybe, you know, sustained, I don't know, by Marvin Minsky. I think it's at MIT. It's called AI Lab or something like that. It's crazy. This was in the 70s. Like AI is 60 years old publicly, right? So I think we're more of like on like a slow drip program for artificial intelligence, but they know it's going to reach a certain point. I can't find the clip with Hal Puthoff, but I tell you what, I'll just share a image of this guy. So All very interesting. There's our homeboy right here, right? American physics researcher, Harold E. Puthoff. Um, and it's out in the open that he's been involved in Scientology in his past. Also, pretty much, I mean, the Scientology thing was like in the 60s and the 70s. We'll get to it a little bit. But there's been he's walked away from it, right? Which I also find kind of interesting. But, um, so Putoff, super smart guy, right? Super smart guy, super involved in the New Age movement, super involved in the evolution of consciousness movement, right? All of these movements that are for expanding the mind. And this is what you have to think too, or remember, is I think that science kind of believes that consciousness is life. So if you're like talking about whenever you hear consciousness, maybe you can kind of just put that word there, and it kind of, I don't know, it makes it make more sense for me. But when they want to evolve consciousness, they want to evolve their lives, their spirits, their the life that's in the blood, right? Like it's kind of wild. I don't know if this can really be done yet. I'm very curious if nanotechnology has anything or any capabilities to getting down to the the microbiology that it could get to manipulate these things. Possibly, I don't think science can ever reach the discoveries of the creation that God has done. The human body, but they can try. I think there's more. There's more. They're more successful when they're dealing with like occult stuff rather than science stuff, right? I think that demons and these principalities and these powers are able to manipulate things and do things, and a lot of it has to do with thought too. Um, but pretty much, Putoff was born in 1936. He was trained in electrical engineering. He earned a PhD from Stanford University in 1967 with the work related to lasers, specifically the simulated Raman effect and turnable lasers. He also worked in quantum electronics and co-authored Fundamentals of Quantum Electronics with Richard Pantel. Um, and he later became connected with Stanford Research Institute, which is now SRI International, and he became one of the main figures behind government-funded research into remote viewing. The idea that a person can mentally perceive distant locations, objects, or events without ordinary sensory access. A CIA document describes him as a quantum physics parapsychology specialist who came to SRI in 1972. So just a little, you know, general background of this guy. He's into the occult, right? Like this is a cult practice. Remote viewing is a cult practice. The Akashic records is a cult practice. Believing in these entities and believing in the mantis. Maybe not believing, right? But talking about it in how the world's talking about it seems to have some sort of attachment to the occult, right? Like these mantis, the grays. When Putoff is talking about these entities on the Diary of a CEO podcast, right? He's mentioning that basically the government, and it's always this dark government. Remember that. It's always this dark secret government that's in charge of all of this. That's part of this externalization, the hierarchy, this revealing of the secret societies, the revealing of the powers that are controlling the world, all this kind of stuff. But he's the one that mentioned this. These four races: the Nordics, the Mantis, the Greys, the Reptilians. David Icke also talks about reptilians, and that's why I was saying earlier in the show, I think what they're doing is they're building up some sort of belief system. We have more to go, but I can already sense that. I don't know. I could be wrong. You know what I'm saying? Dunt says for sure, Steven. So I got somebody that kind of agrees with me. That was, um, so th- th- Babylon has to kind of, when Mystery Babylon comes back, I think it's going to be allegorically similar to how the ancient Babylon was. But since we're living in a time where, we're very innovative and we're very advanced, we have advanced technology, I think it's going to look or be perceived more, um, you know, through that overlay, right? Like that's the only thing I can think of. It's not going to look like, sex temples and Ishtar worship and goddess cults and all this. Maybe it will, right? But it'll be more through the lens of like this, or this overlay of technology. Um, I think that people have their opinion of the goddess. Mine seems to kind of stay balanced to where I think that this is, demonic influences. I think it's demonic powers. I think it's Satan at the end of the day, Lucifer. But but the lady's got something to do with all of this too. Um, I don't know if Putoff has ever had an experience with the lady, but I know his friends have. Bigelow being one of them, all this kind of stuff. But so he was in psychic research and intelligence programs, right? In the 1970s and the 80s, he worked with Russell Targ at SRI on remote viewing experiments. This research became connected to CIA, DIA programs, later known under names like Stargate, Grill Flame, and related projects. A 1995 CIA linked evaluation described Stargate as a DIA program involving paranormal phenomenon, mainly remote viewing for intelligence purposes. Um, and see, so his connection with this is where I think it's going to be where he can start to add to the narrative that there's a phenomenon behind this. It's paranormal. It's more than, these physical beings. If he does claim, I can't remember if he does, but with the extraterrestrial category, that they're able to masquerade or change or manipulate themselves, or it can just advance further down down the road with this narrative blowing up to now. There's these plasma sentient beings that they can take and appear as light, all this kind of stuff. Now I know David Grush, he came out and he spoke on it. He talked about that there are multiple different species of life that the government is aware of, and he named the plasma. He named the conscious plasma pretty much, which is a part of New Age like beliefs. And this is the thing too. You know what I'm hearing now, part of the UFO stuff is that it's moving more, or what's at least being introduced into the conversation, is ultra terrestrials. And when I see that, or when I hear that, I can only think that this is a theosophical belief system, right? Like when you go back to the source in some sort of way, and it might be, dated before this, but it goes a lot back to Blavatsky's work. This has a lot of Eastern religious influences behind it, but basically that there's mankind has evolved and we're in this root race, right? We're in this fifth root race, but there's 7 root races. So the first root race being the Polarian, the second being the Hyperborean, the third being the Lumerian, the fourth being the Atlantean, right? We're starting to hear that term a lot. And the Aryan being the one that we are in right now, the fifth. There's a sixth coming and a seventh, right? So there's these stages or these chapters. I don't know how to compare them but there's these kind of sections of humanity from beginning to end, right? Like way past in the distant past, and way off in the future. that humanity is moving and changing. It's almost like when you begin something, you finish it. And that's how I'm seeing it being pushed through the theosophical movement. Now, where Atlantis kind of comes in all of this, and Hal's friends with a lot of people that are also pushing this kind of stuff, is that it attaches to the ultra terrestrial idea, because these are parts of human civilization that predate us, that are from here, that haven't like revealed themselves or have been revealed yet, or have been, I don't know, explored. I don't know. And you know what's so funny? How this kind of like mixes in with Elizondo's points is that he talks about these aliens and these ETs as how, like in discovery mode, how humans never knew anything about fungus, but until technology came into the you know into the view, they were able to examine it and go, hey, it's fungus, it's this kind of fungus actually, and he compares that to how humanity is kind of starting to move into this disclosure event. It's like we're starting to explore, because of the technology, we're starting to kind of get the idea that there's other life out there. And that's step one in building a new religion, that there's other life out there, right? We Christians, like we believe there is God, right? And his angels in heaven that is out there. And so this mystery Babylonian religion is building up something similar, almost probably like a counterfeit of it in some sort of way, like an inverted counterfeit, right? It's not going to be a duplicate of God's stuff, mate. Lucifer did say, though, I would be like the Most High. I will exalt myself above, above the clouds. All this kind of stuff where he's like, I will be like you. So I don't know. I mean, maybe the future religion will be a counterfeit Christianity in like the way of like Catholicism and new apostolic reformation and New Age, right? Who knows, man? Who knows? Just stick to the Lord Jesus Christ, amen. Like just stick to the true gospel. And if you understand the true gospel, you believe the true gospel, you love the true gospel, you're really going to pick up on another gospel that's being pushed, right? Like your discernment, because you love the truth, is that much higher. There's so much more value to it, right? What's going on, Mark? What's up, Wendy? Good to see you. Good to see everybody. What up, Andrew? What's going on, my man? Good to see you, man. Hey, let's do the 10th. I don't know if did I text you back? Are you still in the show? He goes, are they quantum terrestrials? Maybe, man. It's just gonna keep changing, man. Maybe not, but I think the goalposts, they move it until they can get it just right. Right? Like these things are time sensitive in some sort of way, in the fact that humanity slowly starts to evolve towards certain beliefs. This whole new system, right? This whole UFO stuff. People are eating it up, man. Not only like our normal, because I see it at work. I'll see, maybe someone's oh, dude, did you see this? I'm like, come on, man. Snap out of it, bro. And if it's just a normal person, then there's more people out there, and people are glued to their phones left and right. And I see it all the time pushed on social media. A lot of these esoteric, occult, theosophical beliefs. It's wild. Now, I'm not entirely like, here's the thing. Atlantis is very fascinating. The story is fascinating. The story is very fascinating. It, kind of in some sort of way, I think it's been a story that's older than Plato. People would argue against that and be like, no, like Plato's really got kind of like the first of it, documentation of this kind of idea. But I do think that there was some sort of agenda plan. I think Satan was working on the on creation. He was working on humanity. He was trying to, you know, he's always trying to do things for himself here, right? He's always trying to manipulate humanity so that he could be worshipped as God here in some sort of way. And I don't think he was able to achieve it. Well, I know he wasn't able to achieve it in the Genesis 6, times of Jared, um, where I think that it didn't get to that point yet. But if humanity was to be bombarded by the fallen angels and the Nephilim over a long period of time, I'm pretty sure humanity may have rose up against that system and went towards more of like a law of one system, right? And again, we're talking about like the antediluvian period. This Atlanteans time period, according to these people talking about it, right? It was before this cataclysm. The cataclysm is the flood. It is the biblical account of the flood, right? Destroyed everything. Destroyed everything. Um, you know, the Atlantis stuff, I think, is being played out right in front of us. Like I think the culturally, like humanity is starting to remember its past. But that's the purpose of talking about all of this. That's the purpose of why Blavatsky and Bailey and Edgar Casey and Steiner and these people, that's why they went and they tried to, well, they not only tried, they, according to them, they achieved it. They went into the Akashic records and they go ahead and they get this information about Atlantis. And so this is a narrative that I think is constructed by demonic influences, very similar to how Seth, right, Kicklighter, kind of talks about it, where they're creating these narratives, they're creating these stories. And I think it's to lead to the Antichrist. I think it's to lead to growing in technology and advancing technology. And at the end of the day, it's meant to kind of get humanity to move towards this what do they call it on Lucis Trust? Yeah, they call it something. It's the invocation, right? It's like this light, love, truth kind of movement, where humanity unites, right? Defeats the evil forces that have been keeping this occult, mysterious knowledge from humanity, and now humanity has it, right? And I know I've said this before on the show, but I think that when you look at the Denver airport mural and there's the rainbow that's kind of like in the shape of this brain, and humanity's got their swords all wrapped in their flags, and there's different ethnicities and there's everyone in the world, right? That's what this mural's kind of representing. And they're turning in their swords, right? They're turning in their weapons, and they're all turning it in, and they're all kind of all focused on this lotus flower entity like thing that's decked out in rainbow colors, which means in the Eastern religions of enlightenment, that's got to be coming. Like humanity, and I think the Antichrist. I don't think, like, I know the Antichrist. I know Revelation has a lot. Well, it's got everything to do with the possibility of these things happening, right? Like the Bible has full authority over everything else. But if this is the narrative that I see these principalities pushing to push around the world as a movement, I'm thinking that it might happen, right? Like it might happen because the Bible says it's going to happen. Matthew 24:24 is so interesting to me ever since I started to read about the Ascending Masters. I started to read about Alice Bailey's work. I started to get into her ideas of this hierarchy, this great white brotherhood, right? Like this idea of Christ-like figures that are all in this paradise, and they have a master over them, and they're coming back. Isn't that wild? Like, it's kind of wild, right? Um, and not only Bailey, but Blavatsky had a lot of influence on all of this. And this, they got their influence from Eastern religions. And now the New Age movement is way bigger than all of those religions over there, even though like India and Hindu and, Asia and all the, I mean, the population over there is insane. The New Age movement is still bigger. And this is coming from, people of the New Age movement, right? I think one of them is Meryl Ferguson or something, but she even talked about it. I was listening to an interview of Constance Cumby. She was talking about her interaction with a New Ager back in the 80s. And they were talking about back in that time that it was already bigger than Eastern religions. Like, that's how big this movement really is. And why it's not talked about more is fascinating. I'm not going to lie with you. It's interesting. Why are we not talking about this more? Especially if the New Age movement is talking about all of the religious uh, check marks that the Antichrist kind of would fulfill. Not that it's fulfilling Alice Bailey's prophecy. It's just that this is what they're talking. They're talking about a Christ. They're talking about the returning of a Christ. And this is the one thing too that I had this thought where if this world teacher, which Alice Bailey, that's who she's referring to as this Maitreya figure. Biblically, this could be Antichrist or false prophet. I don't know. But it's a figure that's going to be a teacher. It's going to lead humanity out of this chaotic world into a new one and is going to teach and all of this hidden wisdom, hidden knowledge, right? Just as the serpent approached Eve, right, with the forbidden fruit, right? And it's the same thing all over again, right? When the Antichrist hits the scene, according to like this New Age stuff. Uh, and is that kind of match with like that Denver airport mural where the whole world is reaching this enlightenment, right? Probably because of this figure that's helping and teaching the world. This is the thing. When I read Matthew 24:24, and it says that there will be false Christs, false prophets, showing signs and wonders, that if it were even possible, it would deceive the very elect. Just before that, I believe you have where, people are saying Christ is here and Christ is there. Jesus is saying, believe it not. So there's multiple Christ figures here. And Alice Bailey talks about, right, the ascending masters, these Christ-like figures. The Raelian cult also, Claude Vorion, the guy who kind of started this stuff in the 70s, right in that movement, New Age movement time. And, he claims that the Elohim are coming back and they're bringing all the prophets. They're bringing the 40 prophets, right? Claude is the 40th, according to his religion. But, Buddha, Jesus, and all of these other figures from the past that reached this consciousness are coming back. So it's different in the Raelian cult perspective when you compare it to Alice Bailey's work. But if you line up the line items, they fall under the same categories. So they're the same thing. And that's interesting stuff. It's just so interesting. It really is. And that's why I think too, the narrative behind the UAP, UFO, non-human intelligent agenda is kind of in a way too bringing to light to humanity that there are these kind of things, that the possibility is there, right? Again, the story's moving all over the place, but if you just let let it sit on humanity for a little bit, it'll develop into something. And so it kind of opens up the idea for a future for ascending masters to possibly hit the scene, return, all this kind of stuff. I don't know, chat. What do you guys think that Matthew 24:24 is talking about? Right? Like, what do you think when in just that chapter, when it's talking about that, you know, there's false prophets, false Christs, and all this kind of stuff popping up on is this a small window, a small time period that this, you know, like what do you guys think? Um, because I also see in that chapter that it talks about the chambers, it talks about the desert. All this Atlantis stuff revolves around the Giza Plateau. It revolves around Egypt. It revolves around the pyramids. Edgar Casey, a New Ager, you know, his work revolves around the Sphinx. It revolves around predictions and prophecy of hidden wisdom in the Hall of Records underneath the right paw of the Sphinx, the entryway. Um, and there's teams out there of the pseudo archaeological groups that are, I mean, very interested in this. I think if they're a part of this, they're a part of a new age. Um, they're a part of a new age agenda. And if this happens, and I know I've done shows on this, if this happens, if they find something down there, which I do think it has a high possibility of being a hoax, and if it's not a hoax, it's still of the world, right? It's still of the lust of the wickedness of the world. It's still of, you know, Satan and his kind of power that he has over the kingdoms here. Because it's going to only serve a purpose to the world. It's not going to. I don't think it's not going to serve any purpose to the Bible. It's not going to serve any purpose to a Christian. If anything, there's going to be um it's going to make people abandon the faith. There's going to be like apostasy that you know develops out of something like that. Because it's in the hands of people that don't believe in God and that hate God, right? The people leading these programs um, are a part of the Theosophical Society, right? Like Graham Hancock being one of these people. Graham Hancock doing, I think, one of his first presentations at the Theosophical Society, and also going on Joe Rogan's show 6, 7, 8, 9 times. However, I mean, he's been on there so many times. They're friends, you know. Also, pretty much, it's like, what's going on here? It's just weird, right? Like, why are the concepts of theosophy being talked about so much? It's wild. It's not really hard to understand a lot of what Blavatsky's talking about. Like it's not difficult to have an understanding of theosophy, of the root races and all of this stuff. So when you start to kind of see the things that she believes and she wants her followers to believe, it's very popular today. It's very popular. People can't see it because they don't want to put the work in. They don't want to read. They don't want to research. They don't want to look things up. You know, they want to get their information from, you know, TikTok or podcasts. You know, which is okay, but just put in a if you put in a little effort, your eyes will kind of start to discern things a little bit more. But if you know, I think the best thing out of all of this is to be in your Bible. Like the best thing out of all of this is to be in the Word of God. Um, you know, there's nothing better than feeding your spirit, the Holy Spirit, and you know, growing closer with the Lord. And the more you grow closer with Scripture and you grow closer with what God reveals to you out of the Word, it's just that the more you're putting on the armor of God. At the end of the day, like you are putting on the armor of God, right? There's nothing better than that. Tracy, what's going on? She says, Hal Puthoff, Scientology, L. Ron Hubbard, Babylon Working, 1946, with Jack Parsons, progenitor of JPL, precursor of NASA. Yeah, it's just all evil. like the connections to all of this stuff um, is insane, right? And here's the thing, too. With that point, right? or with that said, I'm going to make a point here. Well, I forgot. That happens. Getting a little older. Someone put a laugh out loud in the chat. Laugh out loud in the chat. What was that? All right. So look, hey, let's get back into Hell Puthoff. Let's do that. Yeah, that was a good info there. Appreciate that, Tracy. I had something good. I looked at a tweet here and I totally stole it right from me. So let's share some stuff here. Let's get into this. Man, I got just so much. Let's bring this up because this is interesting. Because this makes me feel that Christians are going to adapt to something. And this is Eric Burleson, and this is him talking to News Nation. What's his name? Russ. What's his name? The guy that runs that News Nation. He's a interesting fellow. No, I want to shorten this down. Okay. Coulthard or something like that. I forget his name. Someone throw it in the chat. Correct me. Come on now. Ross. Yes, Ross is his name. I have a buddy named Ross. Got to watch out for those guys. All right, so let's roll. So real quick, let's read this real. So Representative Eric Burleson, the discovery of UAP-related non-human intelligence would be the greatest revelation since the birth of Jesus Christ. And that is the first quote we get here in this tweet by Interstellar. And let's run this.
It struck me, we're on the cusp of perhaps uncovering the biggest secret in human history, if this is true.
It would be. I mean, to me, it would be the greatest revelation since Jesus Christ, since the birth of God.
Seeing you've mentioned God, you're a man of faith.
Yeah.
I think you're a Protestant.
Yes.
You go to church regularly. Can I ask you, are you in any way confronted by the possibility, the ontological shock that might be born? Christians are meant to be so vulnerable that the discovery of a non-human intelligence would apparently shatter the worldview. What do you say to that?
I think that to people who would have their worldview shattered probably haven't read the Bible enough. To me, the more that you read the Bible, you come to the conclusion that God has created a vast universe that's much bigger than the one that the little planet that we occupy.
And so, like I get what he's saying, right? But why is there like this movement, or people are jumping on this train where we have to take the Bible and kind of adapt it to what the world is saying or what science is saying or what, and that's another thing too that I've heard Elizondo talk about, and I've got footage of this, but he was pretty much saying that the Christians back in the day, I think this was like in the 1600s or something like that, but that they thought the world was flat, right? And I'll tell you this, just before we get into this crazy conversation, because the chat might blow up, I'm not sure. I might get some comments back on this, but I don't know. I'm not going to sit here and just blabber out and say globe, flat, whatever. I don't know. At this point, I see New Agers pushing flat Earth. I see this, that, the Freemasons and the occult and the Jesuits are behind the globe. I get it. I'm going to take a step back from this topic. I'm just going to respectively walk out the room, get some water, go on and about my day. All right. Hey, can't I'll walk away from this one. But Elizondo talks about, back in the day, they thought the earth was flat, this and that. And it was these astronomers and it was these these esotericists, I will say, these occultists that explore that we're on a globe, and that be, because they had these thoughts and these ideas, and that they were against the religious belief systems, they were put to death. But then later down the line, as time goes on, we see that those people were right and that they were wrongly accused and that they were wrongly killed and all this kind of stuff. Like, just let the Bible be the Bible. Like, we don't have to let the Bible or take the Bible and go, hey, you know what? The world is saying this. I have to read my Bible in this way, or I have to interpret it this way, or I'm kind of changing my old ideas to a new idea. And now I don't think that's exactly what Burleson's talking about, but he's basically saying, that there's ETs and other life in the Bible. There are other life forms in the Bible, right? There's angels, there's celestial bodies, there's all this kind of stuff, right? There's three heavens, and Revelation shows creatures and all this kind of stuff. So it's interesting. But I just have to be a little conservative on the fact that we don't even, it doesn't even matter what the world has to say. It really doesn't. Because I think at the end of the day, it's going to try and disprove your Bible, or it's going to try and make you reinterpret your Bible. And I've heard this come from Jesuit priests. I've heard this come from the Catholic Church. I've heard this come from a lot of sources. Right? A lot of religious sources.
Sure.
And so to me, if anything, it underscores what I read in the Bible. And when the Bible describes angels, whether they're called seraphim, cherubim, watchers, whatever they are by definition non-terrestrial creatures.
Non-terrestrial creatures. I get it, man. I get it. But what's going on here? And this is another part of the pattern. I know I talked about this way in the beginning of the show, but the pattern is that there's good ones, and there's bad ones, right? Like, there's good ones, there's bad ones. And so I see it, if Gnosticism has anything to contribute to this Mystery Babylon, which I think it does, that their belief system and their kind of theology has a similar thing that Christians have, but it's just completely inverted. In Gnosticism, you have the pleroma, and you've got these archons, and then you've got these aeons, and there's these forces that are a part of creation that are there to represent balance, but also to get you. To restrict you from enlightenment. To restrict you from enlightenment. That's what archons pretty much are, right? You'll hear David Icke, a New Ager, you'll hear him talking about archons, reptilians, all this kind of stuff. I think that the Greys fit into this category where the New Agers are pushing these types of extraterrestrials as evil entities, right? And so the world is kind of focusing on an adversarial type of, or archetype, right? Like, if they are working on building a world religion, then they're getting the world to either adapt to an understanding that there's a force here, and that there's this prison planet, and that there's this matrix. And you'll hear a lot of these terms. You'll hear a lot of your favorite podcasts talking about these terms. I mean, like the Matrix thing is where there's these reptilian forces are keeping us in this system that they feed off of you, right? These are New Age beliefs that they feed off of you, that they steal your loosh, and that they want to keep you ignorant. In Gnosticism, that would be like the demiurge and the archonic forces, right? Trying to keep you from enlightenment. So that's kind of that. Those are my ideas. I don't know what y'all's thoughts on that are, but that's kind of what I see going on. And so the ascending masters would kind of fall into this category of like good ones that are here for humanity. These aeons, right? That are here to assist, teach, guide humanity to enlightenment, right? And that's the thing about this mystery religion that I think is around the corner, is that it's a journey. There is no doctrine that is sustainable about it, really, because it's not truth. It's a lie. It's false. It's of Satan, right? The Bible is the truth. The Bible is the word of God. The Bible is the authority over everything, in my opinion. And I love that. I love that. I really do. I really do. You know, God has already won, right? God has already won. Amen. Let's go. So yeah, that's Burleson talking about that and my thoughts on it, because I don't know. I get the feeling that Christians are going to change. They have to change something. They have to be manipulated by something with their beliefs in order to adapt to this new society that's coming. I don't know. That's just my thoughts. Here's another interesting thing too, right? That the New Age movement is kind of pushing. And real quick, here's the thing. That's crazy. I'm being shown that there are a lot of New Age assets out there that I used to listen to for a very long time and was very interested in their work. And I was falling into the Great Awakening agenda. Isn't that wild? So this is a tweet here. And this is a tweet from Holden Kulada. I'm not sure who this guy is, but this is a clip of Catherine Austin Fitts. And so I wanted to share what this kind of talks about, what she's going to share with us. Catherine Austin Fitts is a New Ager. She talks about these entities of being good and bad forces. But she focuses on talking about the dark and evil forces. Again, if you're part of the New Age movement, or if you're a world server out there, your job is to honestly push not only New Age information or beliefs out there and let the world get sorted out, but your focus is to reveal dark conspiracy, dark forces. Because if you know you're a part of the arcane school and Alice Bailey's work, you have an effort to push for the externalization of the hierarchy, right? You yourself believe that you're even guided by these ascending masters. Shout out to S90. I don't know if you're in the chat, brother. Love you. But he came on the show and he showed me something interesting that Catherine Austin Fitts was a part of. She was a part of the movie or documentary Thrive, a New Age film. And she was one of the people that were interviewed on that film. A lot of her work talks about the deep underground military bases and the breakaway civilizations, the $21 trillion, the missing funds. She's a financial, her credentials are like, under financial stuff. And she's got her own foundation or association or something. I forget what it's called. It's so funny. I've sent her an email in the past trying to get her on the show, but and you know what? I'd still get her on the show, but I'd definitely kind of ask her some different questions than I originally would before I kind of knew what she was into. So let's run this, okay? Let's run this. And here's the pattern, right? Like when you listen to these people, listen to what they say, find out who they are, and connect them to other organizations and other associates that they work with. And when you start to make these connections, you start to get just a broader, view of all of this. And you're like, man, okay, this is interesting, right? So let's run this. What do you got to say, Catherine?
So this is the way to think about it. We have a problem, and it's a governance problem. You have a secret governance system, and if you look at where they're going, they're looking at changing how civilization works in a way which is very, very negative. They basically want to end freedom for most people. And my point of view is that where they're going is very dark. And I don't want to go there. I don't want to be part of the world they're building. And I don't think they have the power or the right to do this. It's very demonic. And so my attitude is we have a secret governance problem, and that's the problem that needs to get addressed. And
So we have a secret governance problem. There are demonic forces behind these secret governance, right? So we're putting together, I'm trying to make these connections for you. The prison planet connection, boom. The dark secret governments, Alice Bailey's work, externalization of the hierarchy, exposing these dark forces, boom. And, the idea that pretty much this whole kind of clip is just talking about a kind of like just a general idea of this dark force that's oppressive on mankind. And if we don't do anything about it, they're going to be successful. That falls just kind of into the same kind of parroting of, the Atlantean narrative, that if we don't do anything as humanity with the advancements we have now, then we're going to end up destroying ourselves. We're going to have another cataclysm, right? So let's rise from that, right? Let's unite, away from that. So let's see what she's got to say.
First thing you do by, to address it is you bring transparency to it. You turn on the lights.
Yes.
And that's what we're all trying to do. That's what you're trying to do. That's what I'm trying to do. We're just trying to turn on the lights, because when you turn on the lights,
we're trying to awaken. We're trying to turn on the lights. We're trying to awaken. It's crazy.
It's what you realize is, they're a small group of people. They can't control everything ultimately. And so
they can't control everything ultimately, right? Is that what she's? So there's this idea being pushed, man, of control.
Not only do we need to reject we need to understand who they are and what they're doing, but then we need to, we need to build plan B, because their plan's not going to work and it's going to make a huge mess. And, when their mess is through, we need to be moving towards a real civilization.
Okay. That plan B is that movement, right? Is their Christ coming back and leading them out of this leading them out of these dark forces, leading them out of this chaotic world. Let's just listen to that one more time.
We need to build plan B, because their plan's not going to work and it's going to make a huge mess.
It's going to make a huge mess.
And, when their mess is through, we need to be moving towards a real civilization.
Man, I don't know. I just see it. I see it clear as day. I see it clear as day. It's like, and this is all part of, Lucifer's plan, in my opinion, to manipulate these forces of darkness and these forces of light. They're not real forces of light. They are a false light. But like when we see some of the nature of Satan, right, in the garden, the tree of knowledge of good and evil, there's this duality to this system, to the philosophy that Satan believes in on how to control humanity, not control, try to, through these forces of good and evil. This is the idea of balance. And when you think about like these Eastern religions and the New Age movement, they don't believe in sin. I saw a clip the other day of a New Ager literally going, sin? What is sin? And and then this other Christian lady who was debating her absolutely destroyed her with scripture. It was awesome. But they believe in karma, man. But karma, anybody can justify themselves. Anybody can justify what they believe, but it doesn't mean it makes sense and it doesn't mean it's true. So this lady was basically just trying to justify karma, right? And how it works. And there's so many illogical fallacies to it. It's insane. But their idea of karma is that there is no sin. The balance of bad things happening in the other side of the balance of good things is because of either past life stuff that you did or something you did in this life. This is why this happened, and this is why this other, if someone gets shot or that other person was, it's all becomes like this whole like universal balance code of, of why things happen. And I say that's just ridiculous. If someone commits a crime, it's because they chose to commit a crime. They chose unrighteousness. They chose to sin, right? It's ridiculous stuff. It's insane. But that's the idea of it. So when the cataclysm, or it's kind of like when Catherine Austin Fitz here says, and we'll just let her say it again. When plan A fails, they'll have plan B. She's representing a duality of this balance in the world, that this is going to happen. But she's part of this New Age movement who will which will kind of like be the outcome of all of this, right? It's kind of like that flower sprouting or that lotus flower opening kind of concept.
We need to build plan B because their plan's not going to work. And it's,
their plan's not going to work. Right. So it's just the same pattern, man. It's the same pattern of stuff. I just can't take it anymore. Can't take it anymore. I now know how some of these people feel that have been doing this for years. I've only been looking into this stuff for, I don't know, 6 months, but it's man, it's insane. It's insane. It is. I'll be honest. The stuff is insane now. So what do I got? Okay, let's do this here. Let's pull up my boy, Chris Bledsoe, right? Now, when we were talking about Matthew 24:24 earlier, we were talking about false Christ and all this kind of stuff. Now, this is interesting because Chris Bledsoe is talking about that pretty much God is within all of us. And so let's hear what this guy, this this character here, man. This character here. It's so funny. This clip said, it's got a banner on it. It says religion hijacked God's message. So remember what I was mentioning earlier about a whole reinterpretation of the Bible? It's already happening. This guy is one of the people out there that are pushing it. The Gnostics have been a thing for a long time. And before them, there's the same kind of mystery religion ideas. Because the Gnostics kind of came together in Alexandria, and they pretty much put together all the mythologies and Christianity. And they said, you know what, we see a common ground here, because they decided to, with their own lusts, reinterpret the Bible for what it doesn't say. And they created their structure of Gnosticism. So, Chris, what you got to say, bro?
I think he was here to show us who we really were, and I think the religions and
he's talking about Jesus. He's talking about Jesus being here to show us who we really were, and this is doctrines of devils here. This is doctrines of devils. This man, if he's not possessed, he's oppressed, and shout out to my boy Doc Brown. Just got a text message from him, and but this is how I see. I'm just trying to plug it with what I said earlier.
the church has spun a little bit of that into the control mechanism. They killed him because he said God is in her, right? The kingdom of heaven is within you. You have superpowers. You can call on him and there it is. Well,
he said that he was God, Chris. So you're wrong there.
the church is like, no, he don't live in there. He lives in that box. If you don't earn
Right? Jesus says, I am.
it, you're going to hell. And so there is a conflict with me there and knowing that God is right here. And this is what I'm teaching. So I think
He's a teacher. He's saying it. This is what I'm teaching. So we've got false teachers, false prophets. There's people out there. And this is the thing too, right? False prophets, according to Deuteronomy 13, that they will prophesy about something. And if their prophecy comes true, they're going to lead you to other gods. And that's what he is doing. That's what other people out there that fall into his section are doing, right? That's almost what the UFO stuff is doing. It's kind of crazy. It really is. It really is. I have to look here. I know I segued so bad on this episode. I'm sorry, y'all. I segued so bad. I've got a lot of stuff here on how Puthoff, but segued hardcore. What's going on, Catherine? Good to see you, Mark. Good to see everybody. So let's circle back around to Hal Puthoff, right? And you know what? Let me find something on. Let me find the tweet. Let's just do this, right? Let's search him. Hal Puthoff. Let's see what he's got going on X. Oh, here it is. There's the clip. Let's go. It says Hal Puthoff tells Eric Burleson. This is the podcast that they were doing. And tells Eric Burleson that Jay Straighten is who he needed to talk to about the legacy UFO program because he found it during OSAP, but never got access. Okay. All right. So let's listen to this. I'm not entirely sure exactly what is the context in this conversation, but we'll figure it out together. And let's listen to what Hal has to say and what he's going to contribute to more information, because he's in a slow drip with this information too. Like, he's going to keep giving more information to feed this narrative, in my opinion.
So help me understand the difference between OSAP and what people describe as the legacy program, because it seems like they aren't neccidentally the same thing.
They're not the same thing. That's true.
And if there is a legacy program, who do we talk to? What steps do we go to get at, like,
the guy there to the left is UAP Gerb. He's a UFO researcher, investigator. He's got a YouTube channel. I'm not entirely sure what he's connected with and who he's affiliated with, who funds him. I don't know. Seems like just a normal good guy, but I've been fooled before. So if anyone knows anything on UAP Gerb, let me know. But other than that, I think I think the work he does is good. I think it's good, but hey, I've been wrong before.
Get that information.
I think it's GERB. Gerb.
Because it seems like right now it feels like we're rediscovering historical records that have been forgotten or lost.
Right. I would say the best opportunity you might have would be go to somebody like Jay Stratton, who was.
All right, hold on. Let me rewind this again. I got to hear what Burleson just said. Oh no, another pattern recognition. Let me hear this.
Like, who do we talk to? What steps do we go to get that information? Because it seems like right now it feels like we're rediscovering historical records that have been forgotten or lost.
Right. I would say the best opportunity you might have would be go to somebody like Jay Stratton, who was in charge of the UAP task force for like 16 years. And he was dealing with all the various elements. And then he ran into the, quote, gatekeepers for the legacy program. Okay. And so that's, so the OSAP program was started by Senator Harry Reid and a couple of other senators at the time.
Kind of looked from the outside into the legacy program, but then when you got
to look outside into the phenomena. So at the beginning, right. I don't think they recognized that there was a legacy program. And it was only that in the process of carrying out the requirements of the OSAP program, began to realize, oh my God, there's more behind the scenes that we didn't even know about when we set up this program. And that's why I was just talking to Jay Stratton, part of the UAP task force, because he was the one that began to collect data from here, there, and everywhere, and then identify gatekeepers and find out that there was a legacy program. So OSAP and what we did starting in 2008 is completely separate from the legacy program. And we never got access. I mean, the gatekeepers of the legacy program, even though we were, even going for Kona Blue, we're supposed to be an SAP program. We still couldn't get access to the legacy programs. The security personnel involved in the Kona Blue thing found the gatekeepers, and the gatekeepers said, we're not going to talk to you until you have an SAP. But we didn't get the SAP, so that never went anywhere. So those are really two completely separate enterprises.
So it's just more these programs that the government has that they're distinguished from each other between clearance programs and all of this, and that there's these programs that were already here and they thought they were the first that were developed, all this kind of stuff, right? It's just a narrative. But because I see the same thing happening with the Bob Lazar stuff too. This is interesting stuff right here. This is I want to talk about his connection with Scientology. He joined Scientology in the late 1960s. Hugh Urban's The Church of Scientology, A History of a New Religion is the main academic source often cited for this. And Urban says that Puthoff reached OT7 by 1971, which at the time was one of the highest available Scientology levels. And so how Scientology kind of is broken down, I'm just going to tell you as much as I know, okay? There's these levels of enlightenment, right? Has nothing to do with consciousness. It has everything to do with them telling you, just kind of revealing secrets to you, step by step. And, these OT levels are a progression on how to get through this system. I think that there's 8 levels. I think there's OT8. But it says here that he, this is what the source says, right? That he had reached OT7 by 1971. That's interesting. So he gets in the 60s, reaches it by 1971. So what they kind of, it's crazy. So I heard, who's the lady from the show King of Queens? She was in the her family was a part of Scientology, and she was initiated into Scientology. Her mother helped with this. She was on the Joe Rogan podcast talking about this. What's her name, chat? Who's this? Who's the lady, the wife in King of Queens? Who is this? I forget her name. But anyways, she's on Joe Rogan's show, and she's talking about her initiation process and the last step that she reached of Scientology. And pretty much, Scientology, it's crazy. So here in Florida, there's a really big Scientology like society in Clearwater, Florida. And when you drive through Clearwater, Florida, you can see, is it Clearwater? It's somewhere near Tampa, but you can see all of these like merchant stores that have a desk in the, reception waiting area. All they have is just a desk with one person at all these stores. And it's like there's a door behind them. Where does that go? What's going on here? What are we learning here? But it was like a whole city. It was like a whole city of this. Every business, it looks like a business, right? I don't know what it is. It has weird names to it too, like weird, crazy knockoff name, like weird names that you wouldn't even think. You're like, what? This is a trip. These people are out there. But Scientology is like this. I'll tell you what, let me get back to what the lady was saying. Leah Remini. Leah Remini is her name. And you can hear her talking on JRE about this, but she gets initiated in Scientology. She's in the last step. She's like just about to be revealed the secrets of the universe. And it has a lot to deal with a briefcase, and there's this briefcase that you have a code to, and it's on your person all of the time. And you go up, and there's this master of some sort. I don't know what the visuals look like, but he's kind of in charge of releasing these documents to you. And you slide over the briefcase. He puts the documents in the briefcase. He closes it. He sends it back to you. And then you open it, and it's like you're revealed all this information. And this information talks about Xenu, right? It talks about this overlord, totalitarian, authoritarian, universal leader or something that pretty much, you know, had an issue with taxes and invited all of the galactic, you know, all of the galactic worlds out there to come and talk about this and to kind of, you know, restructure it on how the worlds were paying taxes. And he froze all of these people, all of these civilizations. He froze them in these like incubator pods or whatever, shoots them to Earth. Shoots them to Earth. They go in these volcanoes. They erupt. There's this like big. I mean, it seems like the world kind of got terraformed after that, and it gets terraformed. And now these entities, these Thadans, they call them, are a part of our being today, and it's about us mentally conquering these entities that make up every piece of us. And these entities are like kind of keeping you in this ignorant state. It's weird. It's mystery religion, right? It's all about gnosis. It's all about gnosis, right? In everything, all of the mystery religions, it's all about gnosis of some sort. And so he's, you know, he's connected to Scientology ideas, right? To psychic ability. He's, you know, Puthoff his Scientology's operating Thaden teachings, like he's got teachings on this, involve ideas like exteriorization, meaning the Thaden or the spirit operating outside the body, that overlaps conceptual with out-of-body perception and remote viewing. Sources summarize that Puthoff wrote Scientology wins, claiming remote viewing abilities, and later wrote in Scientology's celebrity magazine that Scientology gave him absolute fearlessness. And, you know, he later separated from Scientology. This was like in some point in the 70s. His remote viewing psychic research you know, continued to progress. In 1972, he Puthoff was at Stanford Research Institute, and there he began researching paranormal perception with Russell Targ. He later described himself as the founder and first director of the SRI remote viewing program in 1972 to 1985. And he said CIA documents, right, were released in 1995 confirming this stuff. You know, he's got affiliations with Ingo Swann, Pat Price, Uri Geller, right, the spoon bending guy, Joseph McMoneagle. And this is the thing too, Uri Geller is directly connected to Andrea Puharich and the Council of Nine. So what makes you think that Puthoff, the guy talking in this video right here, that people are listening to, getting ideas from, like, you don't think he has a connection to the Council of Nine, to the Law of One? You don't think he has a connection to Atlantis and all of this stuff? Just wait. His narrative is going to blow up. It's going to influence this UFO community further as we progress with all of this. You know, and his New Age connections, right? You know, his association with Edgar Mitchell, right? Edgar Mitchell founded the Institute of Noetic Sciences in 1973. This was after his Apollo 14 experience. And the Institute of Noetic Sciences says it studies consciousness, inner experience, and extended human capacities. And it's a New Age organization. I mean, this is what it is. You know, Uri Geller was a paranormal celebrity. right? A psychic, right? He was involved in probably some of these. And actually, he was involved in some of these SRI experiments that Puthoff was doing, right? He's like this guy that's kind of experimenting, or at least gathering more knowledge that contributes to this remote viewing. And I'm wondering if that's going to be another part of this UFO update down the road, right? Is remote viewing is connected to this kind of in some sort of way. Telepathy is. We already kind of like know that. But I mean, it goes on and on. He's got connections to 0-point energy. I mean, this idea of 0-point energy is interesting. It's on the Great Awakening map, and you've got all this talk about the pyramids and these ancient architectural structures that predate history and are kind of like antediluvian, right? And you have in the esoteric community and the New Age community talking about that these sites were used for some sort of energy system, or they were there to function. It functioned something. And in some sort of way, this stuff was like connected globally, right? This is the narrative that they go with all of this. And I find it interesting because if something does kind of break out of Egypt, if something does break out, from all of this wisdom related, tablet related, something discovered or explored, it's going to have some sort of information there on how to sustain free energy. In my opinion, I think that why that is because that could be the thing that helps unite the world, right? Because at the end of the day, what's war kind of really fought around? It's fought around the financial system. It's fought around the global financial system, which is usually oil, right? It's usually and land. So if we go to a whole new energy grid, which I've even heard some people talk about, that's kind of like the point of this whole tension in the Middle East and this war that's coming, is to switch us to a whole new energy system. I can only think that bringing back the thoughts of the Atlantean Empire having all of this technology is going to circle back around to where we can do that now. We can get to that point now. But let's not be like the group that Casey talks about, the evil group of the civilization that caused the cataclysm that destroyed Atlantis. Let's be like the other group, right? Let's be kind of like, let's be like the Vatican section of AI rather than the Peter Thiel, the Tower of Babel AI, right? Let's do this in a new age way. It's so funny, and that to me is like Plan B with what Catherine Austin Fitz was talking about. That's Plan B. It's wild stuff. Yeah, I mean, there's more on Putoff. There really is, and I want to dig into him a little bit more. He's going on shows more, man. He's going on shows more, and it's I see it being played out on these shows as he's kind of got this arithmetic of what to say and how it's contributing to disclosure and all this kind of stuff. And I'll tell you what, like, let's talk about that. Let's talk about Disclosure Day film. Terrible film. Visuals were cool. I mean, there was a CGI at the end of it. It was a big car chase, pretty much. That's what I thought about the whole film. I was a little disappointed in kind of, it didn't go the way that I thought it would. It really didn't. All it did was kind of piggyback on the whistleblower community, piggybacked on that there are these forces against each other, right? And you could see that being played out through the movie, where one of the main characters, the guy who is the whistleblower that's on the run, that's running from this dark, evil, secret government group that's been in charge of knowing the phenomenon, in charge of understanding that we're not alone, and doesn't want that information to get out. And that the whistleblower is actually being guided, right? He's being guided by another whistleblower who this is his entire plan, right? So it's almost like the main character who's the whistleblower is like Neo from the Matrix, and the other guy who's the other whistleblower that's kind of like directing him what to do is like Morpheus, right? So Gnostically, you already have like, you know, you have the playing field set up for these archon. It's like the archons versus the aeons, right? And the whistleblower was on the aeon side, right? And so they're kind of like, demonizing these dark secret groups of government. But the extraterrestrials in that movie, and big spoiler, I mean, I don't really care. I mean, just go see the movie, is what it is. There was one race that was kind of broke, at least it looks like the tall grays maybe were the species that Spielberg went with. They have telepathy. They're able to imitate natural life, right? They're able to imitate animals. They're able to manipulate perception. They're able to do all of this kind of stuff. And at the end of the movie, it was just one big kumbaya with this one alien that they wheeled out in this wheelchair. And that it was the aliens' plan the entire time. It was on the aliens' timing. Disclosure. It was on the aliens' timing. The alien had abducted the whistleblower, had abducted the main girl, who's the other main character, right? Abducted them when they were kids and manipulated them to have superpowers in some sort of way, right? The Emily Blunt, she had the powers of kind of telepathy, psychokinesis, and kind of just communication was her thing, and empathy. And the other guy, the main guy, whistleblower, he had the powers of mathematics, right? And you have the duality of them playing together, right? Male and female, working together as one to disclose, alien life to the world. That's pretty much kind of like what the movie was about. It's kind of whack. What are y'all's thoughts on it? Oh, I had to sneeze. Yeah. I mean, did y'all see the movie? Did anyone catch the movie? Yeah, Dunn said, yeah, I heard it sucked. It's all Kabbalah BS. Yeah, Tim. What are some of the things that guy said about the movie? Does he contribute Kabbalah towards the movie? I mean, I wouldn't doubt that Kabbalah is a part of it, right? Like, whole thing's kind of influenced by mystery of religion. Oh, Bacon, you haven't seen it yet? I don't, and he doesn't plan to. Okay, I get you. Yeah, it's a waste of money. The popcorn was the best thing. Catherine says the popcorn was too much. You know what? The popcorn is like $10. You can buy a pack for like $5 and get 10 packs in there. But I tell you what, there's nothing better than movie popcorn. I took my kid to go see Toy Story 5, and that triumphed over Disclosure Day. And that movie still was kind of like boring. When I see these movies, I just see the Gnostic overlay and a lot of this stuff, and I'm just like, gay, like, come on, man. It's really just, I'm kind of just over it at this point. I mean, at what point is it just walk away from all? I mean, at what point, right? I'm entertained way less than I was when I was younger. I don't know about y'all. Yeah. And it's really, that's what it is, right? It's kind of like allegorizing that 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 there's like a hidden wisdom that's going to come and spark humanity to realize. And that's like I mean, that's kind of like realization. That's self-realization, right? That's like an occult practice. And I'm wondering, if this is how they're doing it with the UFO disclosure, right? I mean, that's how you would do it globally. That's how you would do it globally. $52 for Castle Gray Skull popcorn collector's version. Yo, $52. Tim says the divine feminine is in the news, lady. By the way, Stephen, the divine feminine is in the news, lady. Oh yeah, she's wearing the red dress as she's kind of speaking to on the news network. She's a meteorologist in the movie. She starts speaking in this dialect. That's an alien dialect, and yeah, she kind of does represent like that Horror of Babylon kind of imagery, with the red dress on. Plays a big part in all of this kind of stuff. The white stag in the movie plays a big part with Mary Magdalene and these New Agers. And the cardinal, right? Reincarnation. The cardinal's representing reincarnation. And that's a big thing too. That's part of the New Age movement is reincarnation. That's a big part of Eastern religion. That's a big part of theosophy. And I think that has something to do. I think it has to have something to do with like the mark of the beast. I think it has to have something to do with the Antichrist taking the fatal head wound and then living again, right? Obviously, the world's, by taking this mark of the beast, is kind of like following the example of what the Antichrist just did. You can't really do what he just did, but if you take the mark of the beast, maybe you could live forever, right? You just have to take this thing to buy and sell in this society. But if you take it, maybe you could just be just like me. Maybe you could be God, right? You just got to take this. I think there's more cheese that's on the trap than Christians talk about. But I'm in no way discrediting what the Bible's saying at all. I think the Bible tells us exactly what we need to know. I think anything outside of the Bible becomes, speculation, but speculation's okay. Like we have to talk about these things. We got to discuss prophecy. We got to discuss what we're seeing today, through revelation, and pray about it, right? Got to pray about it. It's super important to pray for each other. Like we got to start praying for each other, more often. Someone had mentioned to me a while ago to create a Discord, and I'm working on that. I'll get Discord up and rolling, and maybe we can get another community chat going. Patreon's got the community chat over there with all that stuff. But yeah, I want to pull this up. This is Anna Paulina Luna, and she's pretty much doing her whole New Age disclosure thing, right? I think she is affiliated. I haven't put my finger on it yet. So don't come after me, lady. So it says here, this is another thing by Interstellar. It says, Anna Paulina Luna reveals the best place to spot a UFO in the USA. Look at this. We're encouraging people to connect, to make contact. We're connecting people to interact with the phenomenon, right?
The last time that we had you on the show, we talked about something that I try to get in every chance that I can at the White House, this UFO, UAP disclosure that is happening slowly but surely. Which state do we need to go to see the UFOs and the UAP?
Well, I think after this we should check out New Mexico. But I will say, if you look at the map, so we've heard a lot of activity in Bradenton. So I know that's probably going to go crazy. So right in this area, Bradenton, there's a ton of UAP activity, and that'll.
Hey, it's Florida. What's so funny is like Bradenton is in that Scientology area almost. It's not too. I mean, it's not like next to Tampa, but it's not too far. Interesting.
Probably go viral after this. But don't show up to people's homes and like be the weirdo. But there is a lot of activity.
There's a lot of activity, Florida. I'm liking this whole general area right up here, right in the middle. I'm dead center in the state. Like dead center, dude. It's kind of crazy. I was looking at it the other day. I was like, dang, how am I dead center on this? Like, really? Yeah, so let's pull up another thing here of Anna Paulina Luna. Let's see what else she's talking about.
That they're
Oh gosh, it's so loud. Sorry, everybody. So this is by UAP James. UFO whistleblowers will provide White House with locations of craft and biologics. Rep Luna. Let's hear what she has to say.
people say, we want to know where locations of craft and biologics are, right? So we know for a fact that there have been a few very credible whistleblowers that we've talked to that allege that they have information specifically pertaining to this, but they're afraid of losing their clearances. So we have talked directly to the White House. Stephen Miller is absolutely incredible on this topic. And we are providing them with a list of people that will be given immunity in that they will not have to face retribution in the future for violation of their security clearance, or in some cases, maybe the Espionage Act, whatever it might be. And that will be them going to the White House, divulging what information they have. And we're following up on it. I'm not saying that I have personally seen stuff. I haven't. But what I am saying is that we are taking the information that we have received, we are handing it off, we are going to get them immunity and protection so that they can divulge that information. And let's.
Real quick, what have y'all gone to the website, right? The Department of War. I think it's on the Department of War. But has anyone gone on there, looked at a lot of the files that they Tim he goes, stripper. Yeah, I mean, yeah. You know, is it once a stripper, always a stripper? I don't know. Repent. That's crazy. So it's just more clearance. It's more protection for whistleblowers. It's more to push propaganda for it and to hopefully get more people to come to the table. Jesse Michaels had a dude on his show talking about the lady, plasma orbs, all this kind of stuff. Just wild, ridiculous stuff, man. But there's could be stuff to it. Don't get me wrong. Like, there could be stuff to it. I'm gonna try and find that clip. Yeah, I want to try and find that clip of this guy here talking about this, because he's a whistleblower claiming that he's didn't work in these programs, but he's had these experiences. So let's bring this up.
Use electromagnetic pulse weaponry against these things.
Let me read this for y'all real quick. We'll get some identity. Why is that not going up? What's going on here? Hang on. So his name's Jordan Jozak, and he was piloting a UFO through his consciousness when it got hit by a directed energy weapon. It is thought that some of the UFO crash retrievals are brought down by direct energy weapons, which neutralize their plasma field. And he goes on and pretty much tells Michaels that he was recruited as a child through the GATE program into psionic, trained, tied to UAP and non-human intelligences. The thing about psionics, and Jake Barber's another one of these guys pushing the psionic programs. It's very fascinating that stuff contributes to Alice Bailey's work, specifically in the book that she wrote called Intellect and Intuition. And when she's going through that book, it's funny because I picked up something that Bailey talked about in the book right out of Jake Barber's mouth. and he's on Jesse Michaels' podcast, and he's talking about, and first of all, like Jake Barker's the guy, had the egg UFO encounter, had the divine feminine encounter, is a psionic asset himself, has affiliation with Skywatcher and these programs that recruit these individuals that have these abilities to go into these psionic states and to connect to the phenomenon. And he tells you how they can do this. He tells you in two ways. He tells you in the first way that you can do it through meditation, and you can do it through getting into what I believe Scientology calls as clear. Like you get into this state, this mental state where nothing's bothering you, right? It's like this clear state to where you can kind of open your consciousness up to other dimensions, other areas, and you get into this meditation. There's that way to do it, or you can do it with technology. You could stimulate the process to happen with technology. And he's basically describing an event that's happening where psionic assets will be in this meditation state, and they'll become too curious during the middle of the experience. Now, Barber says that the curiosity that we have would contribute to what he says is intellect. And that's new age work right there. And that you have to suppress and lower your intellect to get into these states of consciousness. And you have to increase your intuition. And that right there is the title of Alice Bailey's book, number 1. But he's also telling you what you have to do to get into these states. And that's a big thing too about theosophy. That's a huge thing about Blavatsky's work in the 6th root race, is for the 5th root race that we're in right now, the Aryan root race, that we're supposed to branch away and start to, because we're like in a very intellect society. We're in a very independent society. We're in a very capitalist, patriarchal society. We have to like lower our intellect, become more intuitive, in which we'll become more spiritual. And that's to push us into the next evolution, which is the 6th root race. So I find it interesting when I hear all these psionic assets, they'll bring up a few things. They'll talk about the Urantia book. They'll talk about, they'll have some sort of affiliation with Scientology or New Age beliefs and I mean, narratives. And they'll talk about the lady. They'll talk about all of those things. That's another pattern that I see with this. So we'll let this play out. We'll listen to Jordan here, and we'll Jordan Jozak, right? And we'll hear what he's got to say. And I'm going to do some digging on him too. I want to do some digging on Jordan and see where he stands with what he's affiliated with.
They use electromagnetic pulse weaponry against these things, and then so they're covered with plasma, and then they sort of become inert, and then they come down. Is that right? Like,
yeah, like I'll be honest with you. The way that I understand this, again, not Skywatchers,
yeah,
right? But the way that I understand legacy UAP crash retrieval operations to work, many different styles, right? One style is, let's say they're using psionics. Okay, you're going to take psionics, highly developed psychic aptitude. They're going to go set up in the desert. They're going to run their protocols and processes, which are probably highly formulated on love, right? And they're probably going to do that in an environment where there's directed energy weapons all around. So you're almost creating this like honeypot of like, hey, we love you. Come see us. We want to interact with you. And then let's say that thing interacts. All of a sudden, they're hit with a directed energy weapon, materialized, and like, yeah, then it's recovered. So the real sad part of this, where like Ross Coulthart, I think, talked about this a little bit already, like Area 52, is that how everything happens? No, but I do have awareness that, yeah, like many crash retrieval operations have like operated that way.
And then in the book Sentinels of Ether, that Jake put out, it's like, so they recover material, and then there's a mental interface as far as the reverse engineered craft as well. Like getting that to fly requires the psionic assets to lock in again on the ground, and then it gets those to fly.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Oh no, I'm muted. Oh no. Oh, I was muted. My bad. So, anyways, this guy here, he's talking about, what I think is happening here is what he's talking about is going to contribute to the Atlantean story. Like it's going to contribute in the way to where in Casey's work, and that's the work that I think all of this is really kind of contributing to. Oh, Catherine, thanks for the super chat. You're muted. I'm an idiot. Thank you. Thank you for the donation. I appreciate you. That's the only way I saw it too. So I got love for you. Thank you. And it's connecting to the Atlantean story. This is how I see it, right? Casey talked about the civilization being two groups, the Belial group versus the Law of One group, and that there was this technology that they had that was global. It was free almost, right? And that they were able to, have these transport vehicles that operated off of, this energy system, right? I think gravity's got a lot to do with it in the narrative of things. I think that pretty much that's what Bob Lazar talks about, right? This is the whole antimatter, manipulation of gravity and all this kind of stuff. That's even where 0 point energy kind of has some connections with all of this physics that they're talking about. And you heard them mention in their love and all this kind of stuff. Like those are the belief systems of the Law of One. That's the whole goal of the New Age movement, is to get humanity to realize and to believe in the Law of One philosophies, and to bring that back in as the world religion. Like seriously, like that's kind of what they want to do with this. So it's interesting. So I think that also, when we look at Genesis and we see the Tower of Babel and we see that the people come together as one, they unite under one language. There's like this law of one that we see kind of in the Bible, like playing out here. And maybe they were using the tower to do something. I'm not sure. Maybe the tower was to represent, technology in some sort of way. Doesn't look like our technology, maybe, but it could be used in a similar way. So let's finish what he's got to say. Thanks for everyone for letting me know that I was muted.
yeah, the world gets very abstract and like very complex at that point.
Are you high confidence in that part, or just like the ability for the thing to show up? Or
I'm high confidence in the fact that crash retrieval operations have shot many things with directed energy weapons.
Jesus Christ. And if your consciousness is locked in as the psionic asset to the craft, and that craft is getting shot, that must be a traumatic feeling.
Yeah. Yeah. So I experienced this. I won't go into details like when, where, or anything like that. But at one point in my own personal history, right, I experienced this. I was interacting with the phenomena. My consciousness was co-creating, co-piloting, and whatever kind of, manifestation of the phenomenon that was showing up, right? And halfway through the process, as I was like communicating with other people, kind of demonstrating this, I felt something go wrong that I've never felt before. The way that I could kind of explain it is it felt as if my body was actually turning to stone. Didn't feel like I was getting electrocuted. It felt as if the thing that I was connected to consciously, as well as my body, was immediately turning into stone. And there was like an emergency I felt to get my consciousness out of this thing and back to my body, because it felt like if I stayed, that the conduit, right, this like unseen consciousness connection was going to be like severed, and there was almost a ability for me to get stuck in this thing, right, if I didn't return back to my body. And from what I understand, the area that I was running that exercise in happened to have directed energy weapons, naturally near it. So chances are something got brought in, detected on radar, and like naturally it's looked at as an adversarial threat. So yeah, I'm very grateful to be alive and unscathed from that experience.
Yeah, it's just there's more to what this guy says in the interview. It's kind of fascinating. Not in really like I'm not like blown away by it, but it's just trending. All the stuff is kind of trending. This here, he talks about that he had an interaction with the orb, the plasma, all this kind of stuff. So I want to hear what he talks about it, and we could see maybe how we can contribute it to the lady, how we can maybe contribute it to some other stuff.
Get pulled out of the school system, going to see the psychologist, get brought in the office. This happens. Okay. So yep, there's people in the hallway I've never seen before. There's my psychologist, and then there's also this female, right? Clipboard, will not make eye contact with me, like weirdly enough, like won't even acknowledge my existence. And I felt that was like super odd. And then there's a few other people, just like big males, again, like plain clothed in the room, like looking out the windows in this office. In the center, like think table, maybe combined size if you put these together. There's a table, so couch, table, people over here. I'm asked to kind of go take a seat next to this table. There's what in my young mind I would call a blanket, right, over an object that I can't make out over this like coffee table. Looking backwards now, like the blanket was like some type of Faraday shielding, right, some type of like electromagnetic shielding or something. But my psychologist, who I knew, right, begins talking to me. None of the other people in the room will talk to me. The female won't. No one's. This is what was just like very eerie for me at the time. But the psychologist is like, "Hi, Jordan. Like, hey, we have something really special for you today. You don't have to do anything. We just want you to tell us what you think of something, right? We're going to show it to you. Again, you don't have to do anything. Just tell me what you think about it, right?" And I'm like already traumatized, nervous. What's happening? Okay, this again. So some, I think it was the female. She pulls the blanket, or like the Faraday shielding off from the coffee table. And sitting at the center of the coffee table on a pedestal, right, like a 3-pronged pedestal, is what I would describe as think of a wizard's orb. Like quite seriously, little bit smaller than a basketball, has a defined shell, clear looking like wizard's ball, right? Now here's what's unique about this, okay? It has a defined shell. It's a literal crystal orb, but the inside of this orb, for lack of a better word, was alive. So it had a structure that, if you could imagine almost like, if you were to imagine Jupiter in your mind, and Jupiter's like swirling atmosphere, imagine that inside the sphere, but highly white, highly crystallized, highly like almost you're looking into a VVS diamond. It's fractalized, it's swirling, and it's emitting its own light source. Right. So there's this, it's fixed, defined shell, crystal orb, crystal sphere. There's this inside structure that I can only really attribute to it is alive. It is alive.
How big is it?
A little bit smaller than a basketball. A little bit smaller than a basketball. So like, maybe.
I love how Jesse's like blown away with all this. He's like, whoa, no way. I have a theory with this, but we'll let them finish.
You take a quarter off of your globe on that side.
And what color?
Think like white diamond.
Okay.
The color was really hard on this because it was almost like, think of your studio lights almost, actually. It was like this fractalized light inside of it and outside of it. There wasn't really like a color. It was just this white pure light. And it's emitting light out of it, right? What's interesting, the first thing that I notice is the psychologist goes like, hey, we want you don't have to do anything, just tell me what you think about it. And I look at it, right? So I actually take my two eyes and I lock eye contact with this thing. And as I locked eye contact with it, the inside structure that I described, right, that was like fractalized, like Jupiter's.
Now, real quick, remember that photo on X or wherever, everyone on social media, the Bledsoes put out this photo of an orb that they had, and it had like this kind of substance inside of it. Maybe it showed like a number. Could have been fake, dude. Okay, whatever. I'm saying it's kind of playing into what this guy's spewing.
Atmosphere kind of swirling. It adapts, and it like.
And you know, Bledsoe is one of the guys pushing that these orbs are conscious, that they are beings of light, that they are angels, that they're here to guide us and to enlighten us and to save us from ourselves.
Changes, and it's almost as if this object, as I'm looking at it, is now looking back at me, right? So that is the first thing that I noticed. This happens within like 2 seconds. And when that happens, I actually become like really scared because I also begin feeling this somatic sensation. I felt it very much like literally in my brain, where I almost felt like this thing was coming into me, and it made me like terrified. I didn't ever feel that sensation. It wasn't telepathy. It was like, hey, this thing is almost linking with you, is the way that I actually felt. And I was just like highly terrified of it. I noticed that as I moved my eyes back and forth, right, this inside structure was actually like mirroring my eye movement. And that lasted for 30 seconds. And the blanket was put back over the thing. And the psychologist, his words to me were like, wow, you did great. You did great. You did great. You don't have to do anything. It picks who it likes. And I think it likes you.
What?
It picks who it likes, and I think it likes you. Real quick, you know what like the plasma orb deal makes me think? It makes me think of this. Independence Day resurgence. By the way, the word resurgence means to rise. Okay, Independence Day, rise, humanity, rise, step up, right? Rise, humanity. Oh, goodness gracious, Lord Jesus, come back and judge it all. There's an image here I want to show you because there's two different species in the movie. There's a bad alien group that's known as the Harvesters, and that have a queen that run them, and they destroy Earths, and they loosh, right? They steal loosh, right? And the good aliens are humans from the past, from a different world, that evolved consciously into artificial intelligence. All right, that's a huge that's huge right there. That's huge. Because that's where this narrative can go. You know what I'm saying? Egg. There, I'll just type in egg. Yes, there it is. Okay, so let me share this real quick. So in the movie, this thing is what is sent to Earth or goes to Earth. I can't remember. And it's there to awaken and warn and revive humanity. Because there is a incoming alien race that's going to destroy them. And so I could see this playing out in the future with, everything. Because in all of the movies, right, Thanos, the Harvester, all of these bad aliens, this group that is against humanity and against the heroes of humanity, is trying to come and destroy the earth, right? And we know that in Revelation, God judges the earth, right? There's bowls, there's wrath, dude. Like there's vials, right? There's a lot of judgment to the earth. And I could see it in a way that the ascending masters, rise because they rise with humanity. They've been with humanity. They dwell with humanity, right? Maybe they even are humanity. I don't even know. But they influence humanity to either go to war with this adversary, or they, it equips humanity to like ascend above it, right? From a conscious aspect. But yeah, I don't know. That's kind of, look at this thing. This thing kind of looks like what he's talking about, just a little different, right? And by the way, what was personified through this artificial intelligent orb from the movie Independence Day Resurgence is a female. So it's interesting. I don't know. Divine feminine stuff wrapped up all around this. You already know it, Tim. You already know it. What up, Tara? What's going on? Yeah, crazy stuff. I reported it. Oh no, what happened? Hopefully everything's all good. Let's go back to, we'll finish it. We're gonna get ready to finish the stream here soon. We'll finish it with the end of this experience this guy had. We got about 4 minutes left.
Oh, that is wild.
And that was the start of my relationship with Sylvia.
They named the orb Sylvia.
It was her name. Yeah, it was her name. And I mean that
Wow. That's a divine feminine. I don't know. You tell me, chat. I don't know anymore, dude. I'm kind of like giving up at this point. Not really. You're not going to stop me.
because as I later, this started this relationship to where essentially the people in the program had this thing. I don't know where it came from. I don't know where this crystal orb came from. It was never told to me. The sentient consciousness, as I'll get into and expand as I interact with this, never told me where it was from. It wasn't like, oh, we found this from a spacecraft or we dug this up over anywhere. I will note that the people within the program, the people that were actually shepherding this thing around, didn't call it tech. They called it a relic.
Yeah. And they said its name is Sylvia, or did it transmit its name to you?
So that was my first time interacting with it like locally, right? So it was in the room with me. I had this really quick, like 30-second make eye contact. It looks at me. I could feel it, right? But like that was it. Now fast forward, like 3 months later, now I'm back in this facility. I have this trainer, Meg, right? As we're exploring ESP, she brings up like, hey, I heard you met.
So ESP is extrasensory perception. It was a Andrea Puharich, study. Andrea Puharich made it well known in the Western side of the world. And like I said earlier, like Puharich is connected to this whole idea of the Council of Nine and the Law of One and the raw material and the channelings that went on in the 80s with all this kind of stuff. And that these Law of One, Council of Nine members here, they're all one entity, but they're divided into 9. They're not distinct from each other. They work together as one, and they say that they're here to guide humanity, right? And that humanity is on the verge of destroying itself. We need to remember, right? That's what I see going on here. It's freaking crazy.
Sylvia, right? And like, can you recall that experience? And I was brought into like another relaxation exercise.
She says, I heard you met Sylvia, that orb thing. Her name is Sylvia.
Yeah. Well, to back up, there was some context in that conversation. I heard that you were introduced to something, right? And I was actually brought into like this relaxation exercise with Meg, and she was like, do you know what its name is? And as I'm in this relaxation exercise, I could take myself out of body and I almost like make contact. So it's like as if once I was physically linked with this, like device, relic, whatever you want to call it, it was like it developed like a tunnel or a pathway to where like I could communicate with it back. And this began a longer process throughout the program to where they wanted to better understand this thing. So that first example with Meg, I saw it once, different psychologist's office. Now I'm back here in this whole programmatic environment. I was actually asked, what do you think its name is? And I could like take myself into this astral environment, feel the same energy from it. And it would show up to me visually, like this very silver fractalizing type energy. And in one of the experiences, it was telling me that his name was Sylvia. So later on, it was brought back in, and I was essentially like this in-between process to better understand what they couldn't understand about it, right? So it didn't telepathically link with anyone else. It wouldn't talk to anyone else. They didn't know what this thing was basically my understanding. So I would be given tasks on like, hey, we need you to go talk to Sylvia, and we need you to come back with like a schematic. We want you to draw how it works, or we want you to give us a blueprint on how it works. We need you to ask it these things. We need you to go back and forth.
Do you remember anything that it transmitted to you?
Yeah. So here's the really interesting things with it, right? So here's this crystal orb device, fractal, right? It was sentient and conscious and felt alive. It didn't communicate through mouth. It communicated telepathically. As it would communicate telepathically, the first and foremost, like the most interesting thing is that it was feminine, right? So it wasn't like...
There we go, folks. There we go. All right. This isn't breakthrough, but this is kind of like, man, telepathy, I think will, and I got to do a show on this. I read a good article. I think it's worth talking about. But Blavatsky, right, in her theosophical teachings, and what she talks about is a lot about telepathy, a lot about thought, right? And I have this idea, this theory that telepathy would be the, and this could be done through technology possibly, right, in the future, but telepathy, the ability itself, with technology or not, right, the whole idea of it would be the new world, the one world language. So if we're going to see Tower of Babel 2.0 happen, telepathy would be something that I think everyone would share, so that they'd all be united together with a language. It's funny, that's in like the Disclosure Day film, right? That's in the Disclosure Day film with that Spielberg just put out. And it's the superpower that pretty much Emily Blunt had, right? She was able to communicate with anyone and everyone. And she would be thinking that she's speaking English, but she's speaking Russian. It's kind of wild.
This is just an interesting dynamic. Like it had...
But we got the divine feminine wrapped up in here. Let's see what these guys say.
Like from an auditory sensation, it had more of a female's voice. It would describe and introduce itself to me as more feminine. And I think this is like really interesting as we begin thinking about like deep dimensionality and like metaphysics and how gender perhaps like scales throughout dimensions. I don't think it goes away, right? I think like here, this third dimension, human experience, it's like, yeah, you're male or female, right? And fixed, or, you know, some fluidity in between that. But perhaps as you scale up outside of a body, or you're like a ascended consciousness, or whatever Sylvia is.
Ascended consciousness.
It's that gender was more of a spectrum. It wasn't like this fixed thing. And that would be something that was communicated to me. Also, it was essentially told to me in one of the earlier sessions that Sylvia represented more of this thing that we would equate to like a human thought form. And in the deepest communication session that I had with it, it was being shown to me that like Sylvia was human thoughts. Almost we as humans, everything we create, everything we think, everything we're consciously experiencing takes on some form somewhere else.
That's wild, man. What is this guy even saying? That's wild. Yeah, no, this is what we're up against here. This is growing. This is accelerating. This divine feminine, and this guy probably don't even know a thing about the divine feminine. He just knows about Cynthia, and you know. He's probably a Gnostic. I don't know. He could be literally a New Age or Theosophist. I don't know. Man. I think these people are all influenced by the spirit of the world, and they're being influenced by doctrines of demons. And I get it, right? Like the flesh loves this kind of stuff, but man, dude, like they're going down a rocky road, man. They're going down the broad road, the wide road to destruction. And they're just getting this information out to other people. People are eating it up, and they're believing this kind of stuff. I don't know. Just kind of depresses me. But the divine feminine connections with it are kind of fascinating. And you know, I think that has a lot to do with the Whore of Babylon, that goes by many names, right? Like it's going to look a little different in our reality than how mythologies and how ancient Babylon was, but it's going to have so many, parallels, and it's going to contribute in the same way. So that's the stream, folks. That's what Cynthia, what did I say? Cynthia, Sylvia, Sylvia, whatever. It goes by many names, right? we kind of know what this entity is here, or how it's being influential on humanity. It's like it's all about love, light, and this divine feminine is all about rebirth, regeneration, fertility, not in the sexual manner, but more of like a rebirth process. And it's like how this guy's talking about this conscious plasma is that he's kind of like giving the idea that it could have had a pre-existent state of consciousness before it achieved its ascended level of consciousness. And maybe we can be like the orbs, right? Or I don't know. It's just kind of weird, and it's going to go whichever way it does, but we'll be here to cover it. Thank you everyone for tuning in. Shout out to the super chat. Thank you for letting me know I was muted, Catherine. I appreciate you. I got love for you. Thank you, Rebel, for hanging out. Tara, Catherine, Mark. Appreciate everyone. Thank you, John, and everyone that's been lighting up the chat. Tim was in the house tonight. Dunt. Much love, everybody. Thank you for hanging out with me. And we got more streams coming. We're gonna try and hit this hard again. I took this month to enjoy my house and to just kind of just soak it all in. And it's been a nice slow down, but we're gonna get ready to pick it back up. And I got a lot of love for everyone that supports the show. I got a lot of love for everyone that listens to the show, likes the show, gives a review about the show, comments on the show. Got love for you. Thank you for listening to me. If anyone wants to, support me, support the work that I do here, Patreon's a good place to do it. Get all of your ad-free stuff and, get all of your community group stuff over there as well. Also, come support the YouTube channel. Hit that subscribe button, like the show, share it with everybody, and come support the platform over on audio. Spotify, Apple Podcasts, or Spreaker, anywhere will do. And if you like the show, drop a review, drop a comment, hit that follow button, please. And we're going to get ready to get back on the horse here and go hard again. I got a lot of things on my mind, and I'm ready to pound some energy drinks and bring the heat. I hope y'all are ready. Strap in. And we'll do a stream tomorrow. What do I have tomorrow? What's going on tomorrow? Let me look at the schedule real quick. Tomorrow, I'm going on Straight Bible, so keep an eye out for that. And shout out to Matt. Love that guy. Shout out to NDS and the studio over there. So that's what I got going on tomorrow. I'll do a stream at night. We'll talk about some stuff. If anyone has any interesting videos or whatnot that maybe you want me to throw on stream, if you're a Patreon member, drop them in the Patreon community chat, or just shoot it to me over on X or email it to me wherever. And let me know your thoughts. What's up, Ben? What's going on? I see. I just saw your comment up in the chat. Shout out to Ben. Ben's going to be coming up in a month and a half or so. He's going to be coming down. Going to be visiting. We're going to be going to the Bro Grove. That is August 7th and 8th, I believe. And if anyone wants to hang out with me and link up with me, I'll be hanging out over there. And you guys can go on their website, NDS, Nephilim Death Squad, and get further information. I'm not sure exactly where it's at. I still got to kind of look that kind of stuff up. Doc Brown will also be in the house. And it'll be a lot of fun. I want to set up the studio to where I can get the guys to sit down. We all sit down. We do it. Maybe a debrief of the weekend. Be a lot of fun. I'm excited for it. But with all that said, thank you for everything, everybody, and thank you to the Lord Jesus Christ. He is who saves, and we're sinners, and we've all fallen short, and we need a savior. Jesus Christ came, lived a perfect life, fulfilled all of the prophecies of the Bible, and gave his life for each and every one of us. And I'm very thankful for that. Very thankful. The older I get, the more I'm falling in love with the Lord. And it's a blessing. I'm thankful for time. I'm thankful for age. I'm thankful for all these things that we do go through, because there's always something to pick up on. There's always something to learn. There's always something to be, appreciative of with getting older, getting more mature. But thank you, everybody. That's it. That's it for tonight. I got love for y'all. And see you next time.